Good morning, my lovely sunshiners. The sun is actually shining brightly today and it is really beautiful. But I wanted to pop on and talk to you a little bit about avoidance behaviours. And this is something that I see increasingly with people who suffer with anxiety, especially social anxiety. So this is breaking free and addressing avoidance behaviours using CBT. So avoidance behaviours are common but often overlooked barriers to mental well-being. These behaviours, which involve steering clear of situations, people, or activities, can cause anxiety or discomfort and can perpetuate a cycle of fear and stress. In cognitive behavioural therapy, addressing avoidance is crucial for overcoming anxieties and improving your quality of life. So in this video today, I'm going to explore what avoidance behaviours are, why they develop, and how CBT techniques can help you, confront them and manage them effectively. Because they are something that we can get rid of. We don't need to have them controlling our lives. So I want to share some things with you that might help. Some of these things might resonate with you and you think, yeah, I do that and I do that and I do that, so it can give you some ways of trying to get around it and, make you feel that you have to avoid things because your anxiety or stress is dictating that. So what are avoidance behaviours? Well, avoidance behaviours are actions taken to escape from or prevent facing situations that trigger negative emotions, such as fear, anxiety, or discomfort. While avoidance can provide temporary relief, it often reinforces the underlying anxiety, making it more difficult to cope with the similar situation in the future. How many times have you said to yourself, or been invited to a party, even if it's with, family, your fear comes up and you like, your little devil inside you is trying to make up any excuse so they don't have to go. And I've been guilty of that myself. I've told you quite a few times of different stories where I've tried to avoid going to something because I've been fearful of it. But the trouble is, when you let your fear stop you from doing it, you're missing out on so much. And I can't stress enough how much you're missing out on because you're letting your fear control you. So here are a few common examples, and they include avoiding social situations, so not attending parties, gatherings, or meetings to avoid social anxiety. That one I find happens quite a lot with clients. And like I said, I get that as well. Not as often as I did, but I do still get it. Like a few months ago, my auntie had invited me to a party. It was my uncle's 70th birthday. And I really wanted to go because I wanted to see my dad's side of family who I've not seen for a while. But the fear that was inside of me from going, because my mind had told me that I was a bit of an imposter and didn't really belong with that side of the family. And I was like, where is all this coming from? So I sat down and I did a bit of meditation, did a bit of journaling about it. And then I was able to go to the party and we had a really good time. But had I let my fear win, I wouldn't have gone and I'd have missed out of having fun with family members that I don't see all the time. So, maybe there's a situation in your life where you've avoided something and not gone because of the fear. Another one is avoiding specific places. So steering clear of locations where past traumas have occurred or where panic attacks have happened. I've had a client who had panic attacks every time he got in the car, so he just avoided getting in the car altogether. And what I did with him is we did it in slow stages. So he'd just sit in the car in the passenger side, wouldn't be driving anywhere, just sitting in the passenger side, doing a few, bit of meditation and some deep breathing. And then he'd sit in the driver's side and that sort of thing so I could get him to a point where we could literally drive down the road without this fear of a panic attack coming on. Another one that we do quite often is we avoid tasks. So we procrastinate on work or responsibilities due to fear of failure or inadequacies. This one was a big one for me as well. I would put off doing things because I was scared of the rejection from it. Even though I knew I'd be really good at it, I would still put it off because I was scared of the rejection from people. So I would just avoid doing it altogether. And then my husband would say, did you do that thing you said you was going to do today? And I'd be like, oh, well, no, because I had to do this, this, and this. And I'd make up a whole host of excuses as to why I didn't do it. Another huge one that we do is avoid emotions. So we engage in activities like excessive gaming, or we start taking drugs, and we use the alcohol. Or I had one client who was constantly at the gym all the time, and it was just a way of distracting them from painful feelings, and they didn't want to be, every time they went on, they associated that with arguing, and they didn't want that, so they constantly went to the gym, which wasn't good because they were avoiding the situation. So when they got home, it still happened anyway, and it's trying to find ways that you can deal with it without it making you too stressed out. So why do avoidance behaviours develop? Avoidance behaviours typically develop as a coping mechanism to deal with stress and anxiety. And if you look back on your stress or how you use your coping mechanisms, you will always find there's an underlying current of some anxiety or stress going on somewhere. The immediate relief they provide reinforces the behaviour, creating a cycle of avoidance that can be difficult to break. Over time, this cycle can lead to increasing anxiety, reduced confidence, and a limited ability to handle stress. Factors contributing to the development of avoidance behaviours include past experiences. Negative or traumatic experiences can make individuals more likely to avoid similar situations in the future. So, if you went to, say, a job interview and it didn't go very well, or you fumbled or something, then you would avoid that situation again and again and again because you're afraid of that happening to you. I once had a client who went to do a talk. She'd arranged this talk with a group of people, and she knew the talk off by heart, but when she got there, she froze. And she said, my mind just went blank, because she rang me up crying, and she was like, my mind just went blank. I just stood there on the stage and blank mind, and I didn't know what to do. And then I walked off stage and just cried. And then she was frightened then of doing it again in case she had that same freeze response to it. And the way I got her through that was, again, with breathing exercises and a few tapping on certain points. And that got her through that, so that she could stand on the stage and she could do a speech to people without feeling like, I'm going to freeze and I'm going to have a complete mind blackout type thing. Another thing that can contribute to these is obviously our negative core beliefs, deep-seated beliefs about oneself. So, I'm not capable, I'm unlovable, I'm fat, I'm thick, things like this just don't happen to me. Money don't grow on trees. These can drive avoidance behaviours. Another one as well is learned behaviour. So observing others who cope with stress through avoidance can influence one to adopt similar strategies. Now, I believe I got a lot of mine from my mum, because if something frightened my mum, she wouldn't do it. She would avoid it like the plague. And I think I saw that in her, and I adapted that behaviour from her. If you think about people around you and see what their avoidances are, then you'll be able to recognize some of the avoidances in you as well. So, it's quite good to observe people, especially in your close circle, that you can look at and think, did I pick this up from them? And what is the way that I can break that? So, how does CBT address avoidance behaviours? Well, CBT offers a structured approach, to confront and manage avoidance behaviours. So, I just want to share a few techniques with you that you can use next time you notice that you're avoiding something and that this is just because of fear or stress or anxiety or whatever it might be. So, the first thing you can do is identify it, and you identify the pattern. So, become aware of the specific situation, or, if it's not a situation, is it an activity that you don't want to do and that you keep avoiding? And if you keep a journal, you can keep track of any patterns. So maybe do it for 3 months and see what patterns fall into place and what things are triggering you to make that behavior kick in. The next thing you can do is cognitive restructuring. And this involves changing the irrational thought and the belief that fuels the avoidance. By reframing these thoughts, you can reduce the anxiety associated with the avoided situation. So, if, for example, you're going to give a presentation at work and you have avoided this like the plague because maybe one time you went on there and people weren't as impressed with it as you thought they were going to be, something like that. And then you can restructure this as to being, this is my chance to get up, say my piece, let people know who I am and what I'm about, and that I do know my stuff. And just pretend that you're doing it in a room on your own and there's nobody else there. And that can actually change the situation for you and make you feel a bit better about it. There is also tapping sequences that you can do, and you can also do, a few breathing exercises or a mini meditation, that sort of thing, just before you go on stage. So if you're interested in any of them, just drop me an email and I'll send you some links over that you can have a look at them and try practicing them yourselves. The next one is exposure therapy. And this is gradually exposing yourself to the feared situation or activity, and this can reduce the anxiety over time. This technique involves starting with, with a less challenging task and then gradually progressing to more difficult ones. So as I was telling you before about the client who had a panic attack while he was driving, we did this. This is the one we did where I got him to sit in the car. And while he was in the car, I got him to ring me, and, we kept doing things like that. And that got him back into, well, the last time I spoke to him, he'd driven to Morecambe, I think it was, and which is probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half's drive from where he lives. So, that was a massive step forward for him. And also he's going away. He's going to Cornwall and he's driving to Cornwall. So we're still working on, making sure that he's got his mindset ready for that journey. The next thing you can do is you can try behavioural experiments. These are planned activities designed to test whether your fear is just an irrational fear or whether it is a genuine fear. And by engaging in these experiments, you can gather evidence that contradicts your anxious behaviour. So just test them and see if they are irrational or are they a genuine fear. Like, I have a massive fear of edges. So, if we go somewhere and it doesn't have a barrier or anything, then my palms get sweaty. Even if I see it on telly, it brings on this reaction in me. I was watching a program last night with my hubby, and it was about a guy a young teenager who was suffering with terminal cancer. and he decided to go and stand on the ledge of a hospital, ready to throw himself off. And this psychologist came along, and because there was nobody else, and got out on the ledge with him. But because they were stood on the ledge, and I know it's not real, but because they were stood on the ledge, my palms were sweating, my heart was going, and I just felt awful. So I sat and did some deep breathing. Now, even though that wasn't me and it was make believe and it was on the TV, my mind couldn't differentiate between me being there on that ledge or me being sat at home on my sofa, So, but the deep breathing helped me to calm myself down and not be stressed out about it, which I know is crazy. Um, and it's really irrational, which is what I said to myself. This is irrational thinking because you're not even there anyway. So, but you can try these types of things as well. Another thing that you can try is building coping skills. So, as I said to you before, you can do, relaxation techniques. So, a bit of mindfulness, like body scanning. You can try problem solving skills. They can help manage anxiety and reduce the urge to avoid things, making it so that you're not becoming the prisoner of your thoughts. The next thing that you can do is set realistic goals. Establishing some small, achievable goals can help you to face the avoided situations, and you can build confidence and momentum and celebrate each goal that you hit, because it'll make you feel more confident. It'll make you feel more in control, and the fear won't have as much power to get in and build up. These are a few more practical steps that you can do to confront the avoidance. So start small. Begin with less intimidating situations and gradually work your way up to more challenging ones. So, for example, if you're avoiding social gatherings, start by attending a small, get together with close friends. One that you could try would be going to a coffee shop with a friend and having a coffee. Even though the coffee shop's got quite a few people in it, it'll help you to get over the fear of your social anxiety. Another thing that you can do is challenge negative thoughts. So when you notice that the negative thoughts are driving the avoidance, ask yourself if they're based on fact or assumptions, and then replace them with more balanced and realistic thoughts. Because sometimes, we can think something and inside we're like, well, yeah, that's so true. But when you question it, it's not actually true at all, so you could just replace them with more empowering thoughts so that you've not got this continuous loop that's keeping you stuck. You could also try talking to family or friends about it and see if they go through something similar, because if they do, you can encourage each other then to, to find ways of getting past these situations. And as I always say to everybody, practice mindfulness, because it is just fantastic that you can use in the moment, within a few seconds. Do a body scan. It'll bring you back to the moment, and it'll bring your heart rate down, and it'll make you feel that bit better, which then reduces your anxiety. And, monitor your progress. So keep a journal of your efforts to confront your avoidance behaviours. Note what works, what doesn't work, and how you felt before and after each exposure. Because if you can see a pattern, then you can find a way of breaking that pattern. There's always ways of stepping past these avoidance behaviours and not letting them take control. And it's sometimes I think it's easier for them to take control because, as I've said to you before, we all have our inner child inside us, and that inner child will try everything it can to protect us. So even if that means that it keeps us in a little box with a little bow on and be like, oh, no, don't do that. We don't like doing that. That makes us scared. So we're not going to do that. But that's not how we want to be. We don't want to be avoiding and being scared and not wanting to do things because fear might pop its ugly head up and try and stop you in your tracks. So keep a journal of your efforts so that you can see how far you've come and how much you've actually grown. So I hope that helps. And when you notice that you're doing some of these avoidance behaviors, then some of these things that I've mentioned to you today, you'll be able to use to make you feel that bit better. And as always, if you are struggling and it is becoming too much, you can always email me. You can always book in for a call and we can see, if we can find a way of getting past this using CBT. So addressing the avoidance behaviours, it's a crucial step towards overcoming anxiety and improving mental health. By using CBT techniques, you can confront and manage those behaviours, breaking the cycle of avoidance and building resilience. Remember, progress takes time, and it's important to be patient and kind to yourself throughout this journey. Start small, celebrate your successes, and keep moving forward. With determination and support, you can achieve greater freedom and fulfilment in life. You know, we don't have to be stuck in this cycle of depression and anxiety and stress and overwhelm. We don't have to be there. There is ways that we can get around them, even if it's only little baby steps that we're taking at a time. So thanks for listening, and I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.